Greetings loyal subscribers and honoured guests. Welcome to episode 28 of Covertape Chaos Zzapped, where this time I am taking a look at the games and demos that came with issue 3 of the magazine in March of 1992. Taking pride of place on the front cover is a rather grisly image portraying Brides of Dracula, a follow-up to Werewolves of London and Brides of Frankenstein that was announced but never actually materialised. You can find out more about it on Frank Gasking's Games That Weren't website if you're curious. We haven't had a utility on one of these tapes for a while, so it was interesting to have one pop up this time. Without any more waffle, let's take a look. Kaleidograph is the utility in question, and it was provided by Lightdisc64 in order to promote their magazine on a disc to all people. With this, you can play around with different colour settings and then get the computer to generate one of those spirally images that I know as a spirograph. It's only fun for a few minutes and its usefulness is questionable, so I won't linger here for too long. Getting on to the good stuff, we have a playable demo of Ocean Space Gun. Full disclosure here, I couldn't get the demo file to actually work, so I had to load up the cartridge image of the full game. I'm assuming that the demo would have just been the first level of the game, which is what you're seeing here. By this point, Taito had already made a bit of a name for themselves in the arcades for making fun light gun shooters with the Operation Wolf series, and this time they were quite obviously inspired by the Alien movie franchise to make a science fiction horror themed light gun shooter with angry xenomorphs attacking you all over the place. This is a pretty tough game. You need to make sure that you are shooting the green bonus pods in the background in order to earn armour, extra health and more powerful weapons, but sometimes the pesky aliens will block them with their bodies, making life difficult. You also have abducted humans to worry about who are in the process of being cocooned. You must shoot the cocoon and not the person or they will die. The aliens come in various shapes and sizes, including facehugger types, speedy medium-sized ones, big tough warriors and huge end-of-level bosses. This is a decent attempt at adapting the arcade game, and I would imagine it did support an actual light gun, which would make it a bit easier to control and more fun overall, though I don't know for certain and the Zzapped review didn't say either. Speaking of which, the Zzapped staff were extremely positive, with Phil saying, "Space Gun reaches out and grabs you by the throat." They gave the game an overall score of 92%, which might be a bit high. I did find it hard to avoid being damaged by the aliens, but I definitely improved on my later attempts, and I do think having a proper light gun would make a lot of difference. Andrew Braybrook is back again with his classic space shooter Uridium. Of all of his games that I've played, which is by no means all of them, I think Uridium is my favourite. Your task is to fly over various enemy dreadnoughts, damaging vital parts of them and the enemy fleets as it sits defenceless on the runway, before landing and initiating a self-destruct sequence that blows the whole thing to kingdom come. Then you find the next, more difficult dreadnought and repeat the whole process again. That's the theory anyway. In practice, Uridium is really quite challenging. It's all too easy to accidentally crash into part of the dreadnought, fly headlong into a patrol of enemy fighters, or just get shot down. I got pretty good at destroying the first dreadnought efficiently, but I haven't made much headway past that point yet. When you do manage to land, there is a quick mini-game for bonus points where you need to press the fire button when the number is highlighted, rather than the word quit. There have been several attempts to make modern interpretations of Uridium in recent years, including a 3D version called Futuridium EP Deluxe and a more traditional 2D update called Hyper Sentinel. The company who published this game, Huey Games, was founded by Rob Hewson, of the same Hewson family that published Uridium all those years ago. When Zzapped originally reviewed the game in 1986, they absolutely loved it. Gary Liddon said, "Overall, an excellent game that should be on every 64 owner's software shelf." They awarded the game a score of 94%, with the summary of visually awesome, sonically sound, technically stunning, and a brilliant shoot 'em up to boot. Uridium is indeed a lot of fun to play, but it would take a lot of practice to become proficient at it. Finally, we have Yabba Dabba Doo, also just called the Flintstones. I really didn't enjoy this one. The game world didn't seem to make any logical sense. You would exit the screen to the right, go back to the left, and then end up somewhere else entirely. All of the wildlife is trying to kill you, including a purple dinosaur who I'm assuming is the family pet Dino, turtles, pterodactyls and more. I also haven't worked out what the aim of the game is supposed to be. You can pick up rocks and chuck them in the tip for points, but the tip doesn't stay in the same place consistently, so finding your way back there is something of a nightmare. By far the best aspect of the game is the visuals. The high-res sprites do look just like their cartoon counterparts, but that is sadly the only good thing I can say about this one. The Zzapped crew were kinder than I thought they were going to be. They also enlightened me that the goal is apparently to build your house. Sounds a bit dull. Gary Liddon was a fan of the source material and was left disappointed by this game, saying, "I didn't like Yabba Dabba Doo at all, and it's a shame to see something with such potential go to waste." They gave the game a score of 60% and concluded by saying, "It will probably appeal to fans of the television series, but as games go, it certainly isn't anything special." Speaking as something of a fan of the cartoon series myself, which was a staple on Channel 4 at tea time, I don't like this game one little bit and would personally give it a score of in the mid-20s. So there you have it. Uridium is the shining gem this time around, and the Space Gun demo is decent as well. Although as it would just be a small slice of the game, you'd probably grow tired of it pretty quickly. Kaleidograph is a bit dull, and Yabba Dabba Doo is just plain dreadful. So overall it's a fairly average selection. That brings us to the end of another episode. If you enjoyed it, then please consider leaving a like, subscribing to the channel, or sharing on social media. I'll see you again in a fortnight for the next one. In the meantime, take care.